In this example, we are taking 6 1/10, which is the dividend, and we are dividing it by 8/100, which is the divisor. Let's go ahead and write this problem as long division. So I'm going to start by writing the dividend, 6.1. The dividend goes underneath the division symbol. Then I'll draw the division symbol. The 6.1 is what is being divided by the 8/100. And then I'll go ahead and type the 8/100 on the outside. The next thing we need to decide is whether or not we need to move the decimal. So to decide that, you really need to just focus on the divisor. So if a decimal is visible in the divisor, that is when you know that you need to move the decimal. So this is the deciding number, the divisor. Now I see a decimal visible, and we need to make it so that that decimal moves to the far right. So I need to move it once past the 0, and then one more time to get past the 8 to move it to the far right, and the decimal ends up over here on the end. So it was 0.08, and it becomes the number 8, which is the same as 8.0. So the decimal is at the far right over here. If it's 8.0, we don't have to record that decimal. That's why I'm saying it disappears. So now we have an 8 on the outside. Now if we move the decimal on the outside in the divisor, we also have to move the decimal in the dividend. I should use a different color so this shows up better. I moved it twice in the divisor, so I need to move it twice in the dividend. So I move it once to go past the 1, and then I have to move it one more time. In this open loop, this open space, I have to add a 0. And the decimal ends up over here on the far right. So instead of 6.1, we have 610. Now that I've written it, I can go ahead and divide. And I'm just going to start by seeing how many times 8 goes into 6. 8 goes into 6 0 times. I put that right above the 6. And that's because 8 is larger than 6. Next I ask, how many times does the divisor 8 go into 61? Well, here's where you need to think about your multiples of 8. So 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32, 8 times 5 is 40, 8 times 6 is 48, 8 times 7 is 56, we're very close, 8 times 8 is 64, which is too much. So this is the right choice for us. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 8s. So 8 goes into 61 7 times. And 8 times 7 is 56, so I place 56 under the 61. And then I need to subtract, so I'll switch colors so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. This might show up better. So 1 minus 6 I'm going to need to borrow. So I'm going to borrow from the 6 and make it a 5. And then that allows me to add 10 to the 1, and 10 plus 1 is 11. 11 minus 6 is 5, and 5 minus 5 is 0. Now I can't ask the question about how many times 8 goes into the number until I bring down a number. You have to bring down a number first. Now I can ask the question, how many times does 8 go into 50? Well, let's look at our list. 56 is too much, so in this case the right choice is 48. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 8s. So 8 goes into 50 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. So I write 48 below 50, and then I subtract, and I get 2, which means the problem is not yet finished. So I need to add a decimal, bring that to the top, and in this case, you add a 0. Because remember, you have to bring a number down before you ask the question. And the question is, how many times does this number, 8, go into 20? Well, 8 goes into 20 1, 2 times. 8 times 2 is 16. I place that below the 20, and then I subtract. 20 minus 16 is 4. We're still not finished. So that means I need to add another 0 because you cannot ask the question until you bring a number down. How many times does 8 go into 40? Well, 8 goes into 40 exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 8 times 5 is 40, so I place that below the 40, I subtract, and I finally get a remainder of 0, and there's no number to bring down, so we know that we are finished. Our answer is 76.25. So I'm going to go ahead and change the size of this so my answer looks nice and clear, and I'm going to choose the typing tool, and my final answer is 76.25. And then I will draw a rectangle around it to show that that is my final answer.